Hey everybody, we're got a little bit of a false start. We had some technical issues, so now we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm Matt Danskin with Restoration Referral System. I've got a couple of friends with me here. First off, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Bubba Richards with Roofers in Recovery and TRG Roofing here in Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
And my name is Taylor Ammons. I own Paragon Roofing here in Nashville, and I'm an active member in the Roofers in Recovery organization.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you guys coming here. I wanted to put this together. We've had some events that really brought this importance to me, that I wanted to just be able to see what we can do to further the cause to help roofers in recovery and help the people that need it. I wanted to kind of give a little bit of a backstory here on why we're here, why we're talking about this, why I'm wanting to get involved at this point. So we've donated some money to Roofers in Recovery in the past, but it wasn't really something I'd paid too much attention to. I know Bubba and a handful of other guys that are in it that it's been important to, but we had when we had our workshop here in Franklin this past January, we actually had one of the guys that came and attended. Really all the guys that were there, we got to know. Like, you spend a week with somebody all day, you get to know them pretty well.
Absolutely.
And every meal together, yep. Going out in the evening doing activities, but training all day long. Like, you learn a lot about people. And one of the gentlemen there is a guy named Mike that he had a couple times drinking a little heavily when everybody else was kind of hanging out, but didn't really think too much of it. Kind of had a little bit of issue with that, but again, wasn't really anything that I paid too much attention to. Unfortunately, a couple of weeks ago, Mike lost that battle to his addiction. And the owner of the company he worked for is a good friend of mine, and it's just really affected their entire team. So I spent a week with this guy. Their team has spent months, years with this guy, and gotten to know, and so to see a guy in his 30s that is not with us anymore, kind of gives you a reality check. And I think everybody here has done stupid stuff that could have killed them at some point. I know I have, and it, thankfully that never happened. But that really just made me think about, obviously it's not Roofers in Recovery's failure to help this guy, but it made me think about the fact he represents one person that was struggling, that had issues, and in hindsight, we just wish we could have had some help. And at the same time, I've been able to see. I want to kind of talk, Taylor, about your story.
Okay.
I feel like kind of a front row seat to
Quite
your
literally.
journey. Yeah.
Quite literally.
And like that to me is kind of the contrast of like, okay, similar type of path, but like Roofers in Recovery has been able to help you. Mm-hmm. And so that to me, I just want to like be able to kind of tell those stories, look at those things, and just show people, like, even if you don't struggle with alcohol addiction, like even if it's not, you're not, you think, okay, they drink a lot, but it's okay. Like, there's just a lot of justifications that
Right.
go on or what,
Mm-hmm.
like this is still something that these people need help. They're in our industry, and as people that, I'm not roofing anymore. I consult with roofers, but like I live off of this industry, and like if we're gonna make our money in this industry, I feel like we've got some responsibility to take care of people in our industry.
I think it's important to tell the story. I'm just going to flat throw you under the bus.
Come on
And
with
I won't tell the story because I wasn't there for it. But anyone that was at RoofCon last year heard about it. So I think it's important for people to be able to put a face with the story because it's your redemption part. The life that you're walking now, the path that you took to get to where you are now, is what people need to identify with. You know, people love to see people successful, but they identify with their failures. And so I do want to ask y'all to dig into that some because that was really the initiation of our closer relationship.
Absolutely.
And that was kind of the, you know, in recovery we call it the bottom. And so I say for me, that's when my bottom came up and met me. And for me in your world, that's when your bottom came up and met you. And you really you had your oh shit moment. I need to do something and get serious about this.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, cause we were there. I mean, we knew RoofCon was coming up, and I had started Paragon. I had left another roofing company here in town, and as we all know in this industry, sometimes when you leave those companies, some work that may be owed, things like that. I took that personally, and booked my RoofCon trip with malicious intent, 100%. I was not in a good headspace, but my intent was that I could have a conversation with somebody I felt that I needed to have a conversation with. That was the worst thing that I could have done. My family was like, that's not what you need to do. I was adamant, but I was in a terrible headspace. And first thing I can say, if it wasn't for Roofers in Recovery, I wouldn't be sitting at this table right now. And prayers to the family that lost. Was it Mike? Yeah. I mean, prayers to that family for sure, because that could have easily been me post RoofCon. We had bought platinum passes because I wanted to meet John Maxwell. Who was the other one that went? The big money guy.
And
Big
Ed
money
Milet.
guy. Ed Milet. I was in a bathtub in our hotel room in convulsions when my business partner was talking to Ed Milet. You know, and I didn't think I was going to come home from Orlando. I was dead. I didn't think I was going to. But so we go to Orlando, and I thought it was normal to wake up drinking. You know, I mean, it was just, I woke up at the hotel across the street from the conference center in Orlando, would go to the little lobby down there, get Prosecco and orange juice, and that was how my day got started. And it was more, you know, I had to keep it going because it just hurt so much to not. And it just completely skewed who I was. I was a terrible human being. I wouldn't be married right now if I hadn't made the decision to surrender and ask for help. But long story short, there was some conversations had during RoofCon that I wish I hadn't said, and I'm looking forward to when I can talk to this man and look him in the eyes and apologize for how I acted, because I was under the influence then. Yeah. You know, I had a conversation with him and said some things that were extremely disrespectful, as well as his son and his son's wife. There's still amends that I have to make, and will be making for the rest of my life. Hopefully not about that situation. But what really blows my mind sitting here is this happened about 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Do you remember where you saw me one night in Orlando?
Yeah. So I was, I think was it the night before or like the first night or second night?
I think it was second night.
Second night.
I think it was second night.
So like the second evening of RoofCon or whatever, I saw a bunch of guys that I knew. I think most of them were Revolt guys, kind of hanging out on the patio outside the bar, between the bar and the pool or whatever. And
now keep in mind, those guys are the ones that put RoofCon on.
Well, they're members of
affiliate.
Revolt.
Okay.
Yeah. So contractors, you know, they're kind of from all over, whatever. But you know, some good guys just hanging out, you know, having a beer, talking about roofing, talking about life, whatever. And I'm just sitting there, and I look through the window, like towards the bar, and I see bar stools just go sliding back. And I've seen enough situations like that. I knew like, oh, somebody's like about to get in a fight.
Right.
But I'm like outside. I'm like, I don't know, 25 feet away or whatever. I'm like, this has nothing to do with me. Like I mind my own business. I'm still like leaning back, just like chilling, hanging out. But I was like, oh, there's a fight. And then, you know, a second or two later, I see you wearing your fanny pack, bucked up, ready to cause some ruckus. And I'm like, oh, geez, this is one of my clients. This is one of my buddies. I gotta go diffuse this situation because this is like that never works out, right? Like getting in a fight in like a nice hotel, like
that was gonna
bar,
get bad quick.
Like you're gone.
Oh yeah.
You know, and if you're staying there, you're not staying there anymore. Like that creates.
I know where you're staying that night.
And the cops are coming real quick.
I know exactly where you're staying.
Yeah,
that
you're
night.
about to break out in handcuffs, as Bubba says.
Yep.
So, you know, I was like, oh shoot. I was like, all right, I can go talk to this guy because he knows me. He knows, you know, and I went and grabbed him. I was like, hey, you know, there was still kind of heated between you and whatever, you know, some guy that made fun of your fanny pack.
Unfortunately, that's how silly it was.
Yeah, right. It wasn't about anything important. But,
right.
Literally making fun of something that you were wearing intentionally because it was like a stupid thing to wear. Right, like an ironic thing.
The irony is there, for sure.
So, you know, so I was like, "Hey, come on outside with us. Like, let's leave this situation, unplug from it. Come on out here, let's chill out here."
Right.
So you came outside, and I think we just kind of hung out there for a while you cooled off, and I think that's when I don't know if it was later that evening that Jason was like, "Okay, buddy," did he kind of give you your reality check, or what happened from there? Because I don't know. I think we split up at that point.
That evening, because I remember the first time I had called Jason, because he was in the room getting some rest because it was a big day. It was like Ed Milet meet the next day.
Being responsible.
You would think that logically I would want to do the same thing. You're going to go meet somebody with a B next to their net worth and get to ask them questions. And I'd rather be trying to fight some guy because he references my fanny pack. I mean, that's where my mindset was at the time. But I'm sorry, where were we going with that?
So what happened from the point, you know, kind of I pulled
That's
you out of
right.
the bar to
That's right.
to
So
where you're at now?
I guess that the only way that I can accurately discuss where that went from there, I would have to go back about 4 months. My drinking had been so heavy, and I've discussed this with Bubba a little bit. My family now knows, but for about 4 months straight, when I would wake up in the morning and get my body moving and flowing, I would throw up for 2 to 3, usually at least an hour, if not 2 or 3 daily.
Oh, geez.
For 3-4 months straight, consistently every day. Are we good now? And I don't have a very deep voice, so if I lower it, does that help? So anyways, you know, for 3 or 4 months straight, I mean, when I was out in the heat, throwing up, this would happen until I started drinking again. On a daily basis. So that would almost require me to slam vodka, hold my vomit down in order for me to no longer do that, and I thought that was normal. I thought there was something in my diet. I was taking vitamins on an empty stomach. I was justifying everything that I was self-diagnosing it to be, except the fact that I was drinking a bottle and a half of liquor a day.
Oh, I'm gluten intolerant.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on here? Yeah, no, I'm an alcoholic. And so, but what happened, I woke up that following morning in Orlando to get ready. Jason started getting ready, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I start getting sick. And he was like, are you all right? And I was like, well, yeah, this is normal. I do this every morning for the first few hours when I wake up. And he proceeds to tell me that is indeed not normal.
And for people that don't know you, Jason's your business partner.
That's my business. Yeah. We were together at another company. Went out. Him and I got Paragon going together. And it's been wonderful, and it's been successful for us. But so I continued to get sick throughout that day, but it was worse than I'd ever experienced, to the point where I was in convulsions. I was sweating. I couldn't keep anything down. And I think there was still another day or two left of RoofCon before we left. And so for about the next 24 to 36 hours, I was just in a hotel bed with rags laying on me because I was trying to cool my body down, and couldn't figure out what was going on. But it was at that point, the point was when I was laying in the bathtub at that hotel in Orlando with the shower running over me and just in convulsions. I was like, this has to be it. I said, something is going on. There's something wrong, and I am going to die. And like I said, I didn't think I was going to come home from Orlando. So I milked it back home, went and got some blood tests done. And my liver and my kidneys were in the process of shutting down. If I went to Vanderbilt, kind of an urgent care, and she diagnosed my blood results, and she told me she didn't even want me to go home. She said, you need to be in an ER right now. And I said, well, can I go home and throw on sweats? Because if I got to go to the ER, we're going to be there for a little while. And she said, I really don't want you to, but I did because I knew I had a problem. And I went to Vanderbilt Medical, and I didn't think they were going to let me go home, because they ran additional blood panels, and they realized the longer you don't drink, your levels are going back the way that they need to be. So this is 100%. We're going to swap around. These things are heavy. I like it. Right. So the longer I stayed away from alcohol, what'd you say? I got to go to the gym? Anyway, the longer I stayed away from alcohol, my levels were starting to return to normal. So that the doctors were able to pinpoint that 100% that my drinking was shutting my organs down. And I didn't know it. I'm 32. I would not have made it to that. I didn't think I was going to make it home. And so they said, what's your plan? Before we can let you go anywhere, what's your game plan? What are you going to do? And I brought up Roofers in Recovery. I said, I know who I'm going to call. And when I got home, I made that call. And I said, I don't know if you were expecting this call, but I can't do it anymore. I can't at all. Made it 97 days after RoofCon without a drop of alcohol. Went on the road, got away from, stopped going to the Roofers in Recovery meetings. Went on the road, was doing some work, was working hard on the road in New York. And, I'd been without alcohol 90-something days. And in my mind, I was able to justify why I could drink while I was on the road. I'd been away from my support system. My now wife, fiance at the time, lost her mind when she found out I was on the road drinking because I wasn't supposed to be drinking anymore. Right. And that triple-digit sobriety date was going to be huge for us, and I was 3 days short. As we sit here today, I'm now in those triple digits, because when I got home, I reached out to Bubba, and I just said, hey, I fell off the wagon. I need you to help me get back on because I really love how Bubba works his program and how important it is to him. It's the backbone to how this man operates, and you'll get to hear him talk about it, but it's the backbone. And how can I say that I'm going to control how I work my sobriety? Because my thinking is what almost got me, dead in a hotel in Orlando. That's what my thinking got me. My thinking almost caused my company to go under before it got started, and now we're going to double revenue this year. And that's solely based on the fact that I'm able to be the best version of me. But had I not, everything happens for a reason, but had I not been so bad off, I don't know that I ever could have stopped drinking. It was just, the first time I was arrested for alcohol was I was 15 years old, and it just stayed that way. And I'm here to tell you, somebody that has done that much drinking, if you're drinking on a regular basis, drinking heavily on a regular basis, I used to think I just enjoyed the feeling. It's way deeper. If you're going out and you're partying and you're drinking and you're getting obliterated, there's something there.
Right.
Whether, and that's what's wonderful about the Roofers in Recovery is, it's there and you may not even know it, but you can hear others' strengths and hope, and you realize I'm not alone at all, and not only am I not alone, I'm not as bad as I thought I was, because you'll hear some stories and you're like, I wouldn't live through that, but everybody's rock bottom is different. But that's what led me to it. And after I relapsed, this is what it is. I have not missed a recovery meeting since. And I've gotten much more disciplined about staying in my program, working through the steps, setting time aside. Because if I can set time aside to run my company, I can set time aside to make sure my life doesn't go to turmoil. But I mean, it's an extremely laid-back group of people. We just want to see people in the roofing and construction industry okay.
Yeah.
Because it is stressful. It is hot. There's a lot of drugs in this industry. There's a lot of alcohol in this industry, as with a ton of industries. But we can't stop what we're doing just because we know we have a problem. We can't just go to – we could just go to seminary and just leave all of it behind. But we enjoy what we do. We love what we do. But in order to be the best versions of ourselves, we have got to be able to have the tools with our minds. We've got to be able to have the tools to combat with what life throws at us, because our minds, we don't know how.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I wanted to kind of talk about one piece here, and then kind of talk with Bubba here. I know with Roofers in Recovery, one of the things that they're doing is helping fund putting people into rehab when that's the thing that they need. And, and I think I kind of had the perception for a long time of like, oh, okay, like we donate to this thing, money goes to rehab. Like that's a good thing. Right. But like getting to see like you and Taylor getting like, talking with Eric, talking with Paul, like I feel like so much more of the work, like what Roofers in Recovery is doing isn't necessarily costing a bunch of money or whatever, which rehab ain't cheap. But like it's just these people having a place to get together, like, having a way to connect on this, so that these relationships can happen, so that y'all can connect. And because otherwise, if I feel like without Roofers in Recovery, I know you guys, did I introduce you to? Was that like my birthday a couple years ago when you guys met, or had you guys known each other before?
We didn't know each other.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had reached out to him on Facebook. Just we were in some of the same groups.
Okay.
In the same town.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those that I like to know folks that are around me in the same space, and so we had that online relationship.
Okay.
And then, but the first time we met, face to face, was at your birthday deal.
Yeah, when we did the Back to the Future party.
Yeah.
And you had kind of mentioned, like, you told him, I don't know if you were expecting this call. I think he was, right? Because we had kind of been talking about, just worried about you. So I think we had some of those conversations. So I think he was halfway hoping for that call.
Yeah, and because I know when I talked to him, he already was very aware.
Yeah.
Very aware.
Yeah.
As was all the higher ups within the RoofGon organization.
Oh, right. Yeah. So I wanted to, part of my idea behind kind of doing this thing today was looking at like, okay, how can we help raise money for this? Part of it does go to those rehabs. I think part of it helps like just get the message out there so that guys that are like you were a year ago can know, okay, there's a spot where I can get some help or whatever. And so we've got, the boot camp that we've got coming up in June. We decided, for today, that's $1,500 per person, just to do half of that cost just straight to Roofers and Recovery. So if you guys are watching this, which hopefully we got a few people watching, or at least watching this after the fact, you can go to roofingbootcamp.com. You can sign up right there. We'll send you the receipt showing that half of that's been donated to Roofers and Recovery. If you're doing multiple and you want to split it up and do part of it, just a direct donation to them, we can work all that stuff out. If you don't want to go to my boot camp or whatever, cool. We wanted to use the vehicle that we've got as a way of like, if you're kind of on the fence about coming anyway, now half of what you're paying to come is going to a good cause. And the other half is going to my family, which I feel like is a good cause too. Right. You seen how cute my kids are? But the point of that, I mean, that's kind of what we're offering today. If you guys want to sign up for that, we'd love it. We still have some openings for that. So roofingbootcamp.com and sign up for that. So everybody signing up today, half of that's going there. But if you don't want to go to that, maybe it's not, the timing's not a fit, you're not interested, whatever, that's totally fine as well. Make your donation directly to Roofers and Recovery. Like I said, I mean, it's just been on me for weeks since hearing about Mike, that like I want to do whatever we can to help make people's journey more like yours instead of like Mike's.
Right.
And get people the help that they need. For going to Roofers and Recovery, Bubba, I know you're like, I don't know, leadership or whatever of Roofers and Recovery. Where do people go to make those donations?
So my encouragement on it is just reach out to one of us, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction. You obviously can go to the Facebook page, website, and it'll walk you through the path. But feel free to reach out to any of the board members. That'd be Chris Cox, our founders, Paul Reed, Eric Oberent, myself, and we'll get you headed in the right direction. So I'll take a break for a second and give a little bit of a sales pitch for you. In regards to the boot camp, I'm still really new in the industry. I've been in the industry only 3.5 years. Started working with you probably 16 months ago now. So I started out with Restoration Referral System as a salesperson, trying to figure out how to do things differently. And then when I started my company 14 months ago, obviously my company was built on the back of Restoration Referral System. So I would say to any of you that are on the fence about going, just go. I mean, obviously it'll benefit us at Roofers in Recovery, but it'll benefit you as a human being. Take so much stress out of the work life. Whenever I started in the roofing industry, it was knock 100 doors a day. And man, that's tough work. We all know, we all still go out and knock for the most part. I knock so little after starting this system. I still knock my builds just because I'm a glutton for punishment and want to go out there, and that's what I believe we should do, go out and hit 12 houses around your builds. But when you're doing that and there's some familiarity with your company, with you, you've got a house that you're already working on, it makes the knocking so much easier. But I know if we had a storm tomorrow, and Taylor, I know you can attest to this, if we had a storm tomorrow, I've got 70 roofs walking in the door that I don't have to go knock for. I mean, the agents are going to call, and we're going to be so spread out because we have worked this system now for a year. I know about the same time you have. We've developed the relationships with agents where they're sending us business on a regular basis. And last year when we had the storm, it wasn't, oh my gosh, we got to run out there and start pounding doors. I was like, wait till Monday. The phone calls are going to come. Y'all, told people, y'all hang tight. Don't get excited about it. Wait till Monday, because we're going to have more than we can handle by 5 p.m. Monday. And when it happened on a Saturday morning, by Monday, 5 p.m., we were all like, oh my gosh, how do I stop this? It was just, we were so stinking busy. So if you're on the fence when it comes to what Matt does and how that can impact your life, it's worth every penny. It's worth 10 times every penny you'll spend on it. At this point, you're getting the exposure to it, and you're getting to benefit something that benefits our entire community. But if you want to think about a solid work-life balance, that's where it's at. I mean, that's where you can get people referring business to you rather than having to go out and chase it. I know we all love this business because it's like a piggy bank. We can go shake it and money comes out. This just makes it pretty much the opposite. They come shake you and money comes out. So it's a great system. We did, I guess we've talked about it repeatedly. We did $1 million in 100 days. 100% directly attributable to Restoration Referral System when we started the company. And that's, I know there are other companies out there that they probably do that every 100 days. But for a brand new company that was just starting out, man, it was a pain in the ass because it was so much business, but it was an absolute blessing to have that to start on. So I'll say that about Matt. How this came to be was, at RoofCon, Matt came to me and was like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear about Taylor last night?" I'm like, "No." And then I heard about Taylor, and then I heard about Taylor, and like 3 minutes later, I heard about Taylor again, and I was like, "All right." So Taylor and I are friends, and so what do you do? Do you go grab someone, or I know, as me being a recovering alcoholic and addict, it doesn't matter what I say at that point. It was going to take that phone call. So when you called, I was 100% ready for it, 100% not expecting it, but hoping for it and praying for it. And the work that you've done on the backside of that is nothing short of remarkable. And that's why I wanted it brought up, because we as addicts, that's what we do. It is normal, especially when we're going to an event. Are you kidding me? I'm away from the family. This is like a vacation. This is what we do. Yep. We're going to wake up and we're going to burn it down until we're done. And if you don't believe that, come sit in the Roofers in Recovery booth at an event and watch people Saturday morning dodge you like you're going to try and rope them and throw them into rehab. And it's really funny to watch. But that's what we do as addicts. We go out and we're going to burn it down when we're away, like we need some special occasion to do what we do. And so I was really grateful that you did make the phone call and you came back and the way you've plugged into the community, because Roofers in Recovery is about putting people in rehab, 100%. Not everybody necessarily needs it. It's each person has their own path. We go through a system where we talk to the folks and see kind of where they are, what they're willing to do, gauge their level of commitment. We ask them to do some things because it costs $15,000 to put someone through rehab. Mm-hmm. And so if they walk out on day 2, they don't go, "Okay, we're going to prorate that for you." Oh, wow. They're going to go, "Thanks for the $15,000. It's just, right. Even though we have a great relationship, it still costs that money. So we want to make sure people are willing to do the deal as they go in there. And, some people want to come in and they're not sure where it is. I'm not ready to go to rehab, but there is a community that you can get plugged into in this industry if people understand what you're going through on a daily basis. You can come and see if that's what you are. You're going to hear stories, and then you're going to go, "Oh, I identify with that." When I got sober, I was not familiar with Roofers in Recovery. I had posted something online, and Paul Reed reached out to me and said, "Hey, man, are you in recovery?" I said, "Yes." At that point in time, I was doing it all on my own, so I wasn't like proud of it like I am now. And so I was kind of like, "Yeah," a little bit of shame involved there. And he was like, "Oh, we got this group. Come join." And so we jumped in the group, man, and for me, it was a group of like-minded people that understood the stresses that we go through in this business. And I just, how can I plug in quickly? And for me, it was, no one likes to read in a meeting, and we have things that we read. And so I'm like, I'm your guy. Eric and Paul knew every single time that we showed up to a meeting, I was going to have my big book and I was ready to read how it works every single meeting. And so that was me doing my service, just showing up and being there. And then the involvement with them, it changed. You know, I was fortunate for them to ask me to sit on the board. They probably wish they hadn't at moments now. That's, I think I get to be chairman because I'm pretty structured and like the rules and regulations of how a board meeting has to run. And so that's been cool for me. There are times that Eric, and I know Eric wants to choke me from time to time, but I think Paul and Chris do as well. But man, it's really about the community, the community being there for each other. You talk about the unfortunate events that happen like Mike, and we hear about it monthly. Someone in the industry that lost the fight to it, and what we just want people to know that there's help. Yes, we are going to ask for donations. Yes, we are, because that's what we're called to do. That's my mission, is to try and get people involved in donating to Roofers in Recovery on a regular basis so we can continue to impact folks. And this is an obvious way that's beneficial to you, the roofer, and you can also benefit the roofing community, because you're going to gain from Restoration Referral System. There's no way, well, I shouldn't say there's no way. If you're not willing to do the work, I'll say that. If you're
extremely rare.
Yeah, if you're not willing to do the work, guess what? You're not going to have success with it. But absolutely. But if you're willing to do the work, he's got a blueprint for success that's absolutely gonna impact you financially. And man, I kind of love that peace of mind. I'm spoiled now and have been spoiled by the system. I'm probably a lazy roofer. If new guys came in and saw the amount of work that I put into my sales, it's probably a lot less than what I did 3 years ago. Production numbers are still the same, or even...
Your accountant's not going to ask you how hard you worked for that money.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. How many hours?
How many doors did you knock to get this money? Right.
Yeah, I look at even today when you said we were going to go start at 2, and I'm like, Matt's not privy to the fact that I don't work after 2 o'clock on Friday. Who the hell does that? I'm like, no, exactly. But I'm like, I'm at the house by 2 o'clock on Friday. So, but it's directly attributable to the system and the work that we've put in implementing the system. It does take work, and it does take some getting used to. In athletic or weightlifting, they'll talk about 10 years or 10,000 reps. It's no different in sobriety. Every day you get a little bit better if you're working your program every single day. It's the same way with this. My first phone call to an agent was a little, I'm going to read this script. Hey, my name's Larry. I just met with our mutual, and then now it's not so much what I call a big chair, little chair conversation. I know what value I bring to that agent. So when I make that phone call,
they're lucky.
Yeah, 100%. Now I'm in the big chair and they're in the little chair, because this is how I can impact your book of business. This is how I can benefit your clients. You need me. This is just me making an introductory phone call, and we're about to start doing business.
I appreciate you giving that plug there. We had a question come through kind of in the comments for Roofers in Recovery. What is the URL for that? What is the website?
Oh, there's multiple.
Okay.
So you've got the Roofers in Recovery.
Roofersinrecovery.org.
Yep. You've got a roofersinrecovery.org will take you to the direct website. Forgive me, I didn't know if they were talking the direct URL for we've got a public Facebook group, we've got a private Facebook group, so I wasn't sure exactly. But yeah, roofersinrecovery.org. You can go there.
That because I joined, I think, the private one, and one of my clients was like, "Oh, you're in recovery too," and I was like, "Oh, this is." You are now. I guess I am now. I'm not drinking months, so sure.
I'm recovering from some of the stories I heard.
Right. So so I realized that, which I think I joined it because I was like, oh, like I want to support these guys, right. And then it was just like, all right, let me have them. They can have their thing. Like I don't need to be in here or whatever. But cool. Yeah, we got a couple other guys, good friends. I guess it's kind of anonymous. So, well, I guess they commented on here. So Mark, if they commented on here, I can
Absolutely. Yeah. You're not outing anybody
Mark
if they're.
Donaldson
Yeah.
and Nate Ellis, both have become good friends of mine. Nate I've known since I was a kid, but Mark is
Had a
become
referral to him so you can put a face with a name.
Oh yeah. I just connected you with him on a project yesterday. So, with this, and I'm going to kind of go back to you here in a second. Just looking at, like we've talked about with roofers in recovery, they do send people to rehab when that's appropriate, when that they feel like that's going to serve the person, that are going to actually like follow through on it, right? Like they have to make those calls. So it's not like everybody, because a lot of people aren't ready for it or whatever. But to me, even the people that go through the rehab program, if they don't have this support system after, they're probably screwed. Or their chances are pretty slim of actually having success with it. So I mean, to me, that's like, yes, like we need to donate money to help with that piece of it, because a lot of people aren't going to get over that hump without having really structured time. But I think just what they're doing is really cool. I was at Paul Reed had their event in Denver. I think it's been 2.5 years ago. That I think that's when they started Roofers in Recovery. Actually, I think a few people were kind of like unofficially meeting, or kind of working through the same stuff, and so this stuff doesn't have to be roofing specific, but if we're all dealing with the same same type of thing all the time, that's just kind of one more way that it's aligned.
You get Taylor and I in the same room, and
the cops just show up. Yeah, here
they need to be here.
That's a fire. That's a fire truck. So I don't know what y'all are up to.
Yeah, because we're talking about we're burning it down.
Oh, there you go.
Doing something stupid.
So, do you mind kind of sharing? We've kind of heard Taylor's story over the last year or so. Kind of sharing some of your story, where you've come from, just for other people that are out there that are maybe just going through the same type of thing, that need some help and maybe need to get connected, even if you don't have to go to rehab. So don't be like, I'm not going to contact them because I don't want to go to rehab. They're not going to make you go to rehab, but they may be able to help you out.
For sure. Yeah, so my story, I guess, goodness, I should know this well. I've been working on writing it all out, but it's my first jaunt to rehab. I got in trouble with the law in 1992, and was playing football in college at that point, and my college football coach said, hey, look, if you're going to get your scholarship to come back, you're going to need to go spend some time in rehab. So I went to rehab, and much like what you said, I came back and got plugged into the same social system. There was no support system. I needed to appease the coach, and so that's what I did. 30 days later, I got invited to leave New Mexico and got banned from New Mexico for 20 years. And that was a result of an incident. That was
been banned from a state. And I've caused some ruckus.
I've been forced to stay in one, but never banned.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting thing for me. People are like, oh, so you went to jail. I'm like, I went to jail and they told me to get my ass out, far out. So then, you blame everything on circumstances. I was away from my home. I was missing my family. It wasn't any of that stuff. So I'm going to go back closer to home, and got arrested for a DWI, and was waiting to go to court on that DWI. I got arrested for another DWI, and then got arrested over the next 5-year period. Got arrested 14 different times, different assault charges, assault on a police officer, resisting arrest, just a litany of charges, and nothing ever stuck to me. I mean, it seemed like somehow the consequences missed me. They were minimal. Like, So at that point in time, I had 3 DWIs, but they didn't see the one in New Mexico. So there was a first. Well, then the one in Collin County didn't see the one in Dallas County. So I had 3 first DWIs. At that point,
you're older than computers.
Right, absolutely, right. Absolutely, no doubt. And then life goes on. So we're still in the 90s, early 2000. Get arrested again, but they had a specific law in Texas. If it was beyond, I think 5 years, so I got another first DWI, and I won't belabor all the arrests, but we'll fast forward to 2015. I went back to Texas to visit my folks, and running back to some of the same haunts, got arrested for another DWI. Well, they no longer had that look back time. So Texas had lifted that, one of the 2 states in the country that has no look back law. So now they can look back and go, you've been to jail X amount of times, you're a felon. So at that point in time, I got hit with a felony, and my wife called an attorney that I went to high school with, and man, that really was, no pun intended, sobering for me. But we went to a small private school, and so the gentleman who had willed, we passed our football numbers down. That was a big traditional thing. So the guy that had passed the football number down to me that I got to wear in high school was now sitting on the other side of a glass, getting my ass out of jail. And that brought me to tears. That was a realization of where I had come. And then I go back and talk to my folks. I get back, and I'm staying with them, and they're like, "What happened?" I tell them the story. I was sitting on the back of my tailgate, and still had the keys in the truck. That whole story, it still shows intent. Well, my parents were telling me, "Well, that's stupid. That's on them. They were just out to get you," and that's what we hear. And as addicts, alcoholics, that's what we think. They were just out to get me, or something like that. Anything that we can do to come up with excuses to not accept responsibility for our actions, we jump all over that. So we went down that path, and again, I didn't accept responsibility for it. I got in trouble, got sentenced to do some jail time. Then when I got out of jail, probation, and I have an interlock device, so I've got a blower on my truck. I can't start my truck if I've had any alcohol.
I cut mine out.
Well, so and then I learned how to manipulate that, and so then you really realize, for me, if I get caught, I'm going to prison, and I was willing to take that risk. At least 2 or 3 times a week, I'm taking that risk where I go and drink a half a gallon of vodka, and the next morning I know if I blow, it's still going to be there. Figure out how to work it. So let's figure out how to work that system instead of realizing that you have a problem. So 2019, I woke up one morning to an empty house, and it wasn't the kind of empty where I thought my wife had gone to the grocery store or gone to get me breakfast or anything like that. I woke up and it was different. It was in my gut. I knew it was different. And so I sent her a text, and she was like, "No, gone for good." And that was it. I moved from Texas to Tennessee for that relationship. And so here I was, I'm about to be on an island by myself in Tennessee with nothing. And let alone had alienated the person who is one of the most kind-hearted and sweetest people I know, that shows more grace and forgiveness than anyone that I know. And if I had gone that far, it really hit me. And I'm like, all right. So I put myself into rehab that week, and went in and did all the intake stuff. And I'm like, I still need to be able to pay my bills. So they put me into an intensive outpatient treatment where I could go and spend 3 hours a night, 4 days a week, and then 6 hours on Saturdays going through there. And I poured myself into it at that point. That for me was my flag planting moment. I was no longer at home. I had gone to live and I had stayed in Airbnb, stayed at a friend's house, and that was when I started my program that is my life now, because that was my bottom. I felt like a worthless piece of shit. I didn't know what else to do, so I started reading. I prayed, I just begged what we do as addicts. God, get me out of this one more time, and I promise I'll never drink again. I'll do this right. But this time I backed it up with some actions. And so I started reading how to do this right. And so for me, it started with, you get up and make your bed. You fold your towel when you get out of the shower. You clean your breakfast plates in your coffee cup every morning. And so I started doing that. And that built some semblance of structure in my life. And then I'm selling roofs, so I'm having success because I was good at what I did. I just was only good at it 2.5 days a week because I was hungover or drunk the rest of the time. So now I'm not, and I'm having successes. I'm starting to feel better about myself. And then I found Roofers in Recovery. And it was a group of like-minded people that when I tell them, my truck just turns left on this street after I've got a contract signed and I'm headed home, that's a win. My house is to the right. My truck just turns left because for 30 odd years, that's how we celebrated wins. We go drink to celebrate. And those guys got it. They're like, oh yeah. Or you lost a contract because, no other roofer is just going to flat out sell me or anything, but they cut some corner or gave something away, did something shady. Yeah, those pieces of crap. I got to go drink over that as well. So that, and getting that community of folks is what's made it different for me. So I've got 3 years now. Happily haven't had any near run-ins with the law. It's good. That's a good thing to be able to sit at a stoplight and have a police officer pull up behind you, and I'm like, run that plate, run it. Yeah, good. I'm good now. Yeah, I'm yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So Roofers in Recovery. When Paul stepped in and asked me to come to a meeting, it's been an integral part of my life ever since. And I talk to people in that group every single day. I have a sponsor that's in the group. Eric Oberunt is my sponsor, and so I bother Eric with all my personal stuff on a regular basis. Now, I'm Taylor's sponsor. Taylor and I talk at least 5 days a week. Yeah, and so, right? And so, exactly. So you surround yourself with that community. I also have other people in the group that I won't mention their names, but they call and check on me, or I call and check on them. Absolutely, weekly. And there's a group of people, when you're going through struggles, they understand the exact struggle you're going through. We have people in the group that'll show up for a meeting that are still messed up. Mm-hmm. We've invited them to come, and we've got a guy in there that's got 34 years sobriety, everywhere in between. And there's solid sobriety in there. There's solid wisdom in there. Mm-hmm. And if you don't like what this one has to say, well, you may identify with this one. You may identify with that one. We all speak different languages when it comes to the program. My program is about structure and consistency. Someone else's program may be a little more loose and in the ether, so to speak. Mine's about structure. Someone in there will identify with you, or you'll identify with them, and you can develop a relationship and start to learn how to walk. Right. Because if you're out there and you're still using, and you're struggling, whether you're using drugs or you're using alcohol, if you're going through that process and you're starting to understand that it's not normal, that you're not like everyone else, we get it 100%. We absolutely get it. And just know that you're not alone, and there's a better way. It's a simple set of tools that we've been gifted. I use the term a lot, a gift of desperation. When my bottom came up to me, I was desperate. Absolutely desperate to get well. And that gift was just a simple set of spiritual tools to teach me how to live life on life's term. And for the most part, I feel like I'm doing all right. I have some days just like everybody else, but when I am down and feel like I'm not having a great day, I sure as hell know that I can pick up the phone and call, and someone's going to help lift me up.
Now, can you clarify one thing for him, Mr. Larry? Just want to, if anybody out there has any concerns as far as their finances or whether they can afford any kind of membership in Roofers in Recovery, would you talk about that for a second about what it really costs to be a part of Roofers in Recovery?
Yeah, when everything that we do is absolutely free, with the exception, well, even the rehab component is still free to the end user. There's no cost. There are no ties, so to speak. There's no offering that's given. We don't collect anything. It is genuinely free. There's nothing asked of you. We would hope at some point in time, if you benefit from it, that you would give back to it. But it's absolutely free. I mean, we're there. It is a nonprofit, and they set it up as a nonprofit, and it's ran as a nonprofit, and it's open 24/7. But believe me, there are so many times my phone rings at 11:53. Seems to be the number that it gets caught on. 11:53, and that phone will go off. Yeah, set your alarm and call me. I'll come to your house. But yeah, we're there around the clock. If someone needs help, one of us is going to be available to get on the phone, get on a Zoom, or hell, Chris Cox has literally driven 6-8 hours to pick someone up and get them into a position. I've driven. I know Eric and Paul. We've all done it round the clock. Whenever you're having the issue, pick up the phone. We're all visible on Facebook. Send us a message, and we'll answer, and we'll get hold of you, and we'll talk. No guarantees you'll like what we have to say, but we will talk. But yeah, absolutely free, 100% donated time by everybody that's in the organization.
I just wanted to mention one point. I know, there's no obligation to pay money to be in it or whatever, and I think there's a lot of guys that I know that do pretty well in roofing that are essentially funding this thing. So. I'm always, if I'm donating money to something, I'm always looking at is this money actually going to the thing that we're trying to help with or whatever? And I know, I've talked with Eric, at least. I know you, and, I'm sure Paul's the same, where they're like, yeah, we're going to this conference so we can go represent Roofers in Recovery. Like, I'm paying for my own airfare. Like, I'm paying for my own hotel. Hopefully these conferences are at least giving you guys a booth. I would say we start boycotting them if they don't, but if they can at least. I
won't say anything publicly about that.
Yeah,
I'm forced boycotted, like you were in New Mexico.
Yeah. So, which actually, as we've been sitting here, I'm sitting here thinking through, and I'm like, I have so many of my clients that have really done well with their thing that are in Roofers in Recovery, and I'm like, is it that this is attractive to alcoholics that are in a 12-step program, or is it just that a lot of roofers are alcoholics?
Well,
could be both.
How many influential people there were in our industry that I looked up to as a drunk and was like, man, if I could build a company like that guy, and then you find out they're in recovery.
Yeah, maybe you could if you stop drinking.
Right. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right.
It's not automatic, but it's going to be a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah, way easier.
Well, and you've got, guys like Scott that was really in a bad spot. He grew his company humongous while he was using and, going to jail and stuff. And which is just mind boggling to even thinking about. But now,
mine.
Right. Yeah. But now he's got such a wide influence. He knows all these people to be able to help out, and he's somebody that's, him and Paul and all these guys are kind of a big deal in the industry that I love the fact that those guys, and you guys too are kind of taking leadership roles in the industry one, to help people out, but also like, let's like show people what success looks like, and not like, success is not, going off the rails and doing drugs and alcohol and,
Hey, the
everything else that can get involved with that.
The guys in the Revolt group bust my balls about it because I'm like the old man in the group. Now they were up doing what we do when we get together. They're up hanging out. They're not burning it down, doing anything stupid. They're playing music and singing. And it was like 1:20 in the morning, and Grumpy Bubba woke up, and I think I threatened all of them with their life, and so they give me a hard time about it, and I'm like, so which one's better? Is it better for me to wake up and be that old man like, y'all go to bed, we got stuff to do tomorrow, or the asshole that I turned into at about 1:20 after I've had a fifth of whatever I'm throwing down my throat that night? But yeah, I get beat up on that because now I'm early to bed, early to rise, but it's a little bit of a different deal now for sure. So
yeah, and I was there for that. That was I think I went to bed early too because I'm also a crotchety old man.
Just so many kids.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I was away from home, and I was like, oh, I can sleep all night, and nobody's gonna come in screaming in the middle of the night, except for Dylan and Jordan are gonna come in. Well, yeah, he was yelling. They were yodeling or whatever they're doing.
That's funny.
But that's awesome.
Roofers, man.
Crazy roofers.
Yeah.
So, again, I just want to, I know a lot of people may be checking in on this rather than watching this entire hour and a half long kind of deal. If you're interested in Roofers in Recovery, maybe go back and watch this thing. Go to the Facebook page, go to their website, reach out to some people. Roofers in Recovery is just kind of a framework for all of these people that were in a bad spot and want to help you out of that same type of bad spot. And so, please reach out to those people. But also whether you're an alcoholic, recovered or not an alcoholic, come by our boot camp. I just wanted to, kind of throw that out there. Our boot camp is New Smyrna Beach, Florida. It's at the National Claims Institute, where Matt Mulholland has their whole training thing on doing. Have you guys been down there yet?
I have not, but I really want
Okay.
to go.
They've got some really cool training just for whether you're doing our thing or not, on, how to do a composition roof inspection, how to do, low slope systems and like all this stuff, classes for PAs and how to deal with engineers and all that sort of stuff. So really recommend people check that out. They're allowing us to use their facility.
That's awesome.
It's right down the street from the beach. So, you can go to the training. It's a tax write-off, right? Like, cause you're investing in that training. But we're focusing on, taking what, our training is and helping guys get over that hump of like, all right, let me get started on this, and like getting to the point where they're proficient in 3 days. And, the workshop that we did out here in January kind of taught me how to do that. Like, how can we compress this down 3 days where we're boom, 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 and you are an absolute animal at the end of those 3 days. So instead of what probably took you a couple of months and a bunch of mistakes and trying to figure it out kind of with my help, but kind of on your own too, it's just, let's focus for 3 days.
Right.
So, I think the ROI should be pretty darn quick. That's a roof, whatever, by the time you pay for your airfare, Airbnb, hotel, whatever you're doing, maybe let's call it 2 roofs.
Yeah.
Very quick payback here, but we want to be able to help out. But, join us in that thing. We're going to donate half the money to Roofers in Recovery. If you don't want to come, go to roofersinrecovery.org. They couldn't get the .com. Like, who else is using Roofers in Recovery?
I think the org is more for nonprofit, isn't it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that probably makes sense. Okay.
my guess
That's
is
a calm commercial, yeah.
Hunter Blue probably bought it and is leveraging it. No, I'm just kidding. Hunter Blue.
Awesome.
Is there a way to touch on our day that's coming up? See if we can
Oh yeah, yeah. What do y'all got going on?
I don't want to go ahead.
Yeah, steal his thunder. Or
Do it.
Oh, yeah.
June 3rd.
All right, so on June 3rd, TRG Roofing is actually donating the largest roof they've ever done to roofers in No, I'm just kidding. 11 squares.
biggest doghouse you've ever seen.
Right. But no, on June 3rd is going to be the Roofers in Recovery Day, and that's a first, isn't it, Larry? So what's actually going to be done is we're getting contractors that are pledging to donate the proceeds from one of their roofs to the Roofers in Recovery organization. Do you remember the last time you checked where we were at on contractors on that?
Around 75.
Because I remember the last time we chatted, we were trying to make a last push for 100.
We are, yeah. The goal was 150. I think we're sitting around 75 at this point. Yeah, anyone that's listening to this that is a roofer, or if you know anyone that's not, and it's something that tugs at your heartstrings, get that information in front of them. I mean, it's a simple deal. We're not asking to not pay your people and take all the money. If it's a, average $15,000 roof, we're not asking for $15,000. Just the proceeds from it, and make that donation. It's something, if you're smart with it, like what we're going to be doing here in Nashville. There will be a press release that goes out with it. I'm trying to get news crews that will come. That'll give us exposure for Roofers in Recovery. It'll also get exposure for the company. People like companies that give back, and we all have done well in this industry, and we need to give back. I mean, even outside of Roofers in Recovery, our company still does neighborhood beautification projects where we give a roof away, or whether we go over and just donate some time with other community companies to clean up a yard or something to that effect. People like to do business with people that are trying to have a positive impact in the world. So this is, we'll say it like this. This is my sales pitch. This is Roofers in Recovery trying to give y'all an opportunity to make your company look good in your community.
That's true.
No, but it is June 3rd, donate the proceeds of a roof. And if you know someone that wants to be a part of it, please get in touch with one of us on that, because this is something that we're going to do yearly. It's going to be National Roofers in Recovery Day. Eric and Paul came up with it, declared it. We put a stamp on it, and it is official.
Yeah. I'm just curious, though, how are the news outlets going to be at TRG
When they're going to be with Paragon?
And my hopes are that they're both. I mean, when I talk to them, have been talking to them about press release.
Yeah.
If there's a company in Nashville, they're going to get mentioned in that press release.
Yeah.
And it is something, if they mention it, I want them to mention every single one of the companies.
Yeah, and if there's anything we can do at Paragon to help TRG out with that, just let us know. And if there's any other Nashville roofers that are in on that, whatever we can do to coordinate, I'm sure anybody would be happy to help. Awesome. I was just joking with you, but yeah, I'll do anything in the world to help you out on that.
I would just say one thing. Let's pretend you don't care anything about Roofers in Recovery or helping people on that. Let's pretend. Hopefully that's not the case. Just strictly from like a business standpoint, being involved in this, like you said, it's good press. It looks good, that your company's doing this thing. It's like one roof out of however many roofs you do, 200, 1,000, whatever, however many roofs you're doing is one roof. Not a big deal. You're getting some good out of that. But also, I mean, your customers are going to see that. But I would say also other people in the industry are going to see that. Like if you're looking at like, hey, Bubba, can you help me with something? I need help on this roofing thing, or Eric or Paul or whatever. Like, and they know, hey, this guy's aligned with us. He's helping us out with this thing. Your dues are paid, basically. Right. You don't feel like a mooch. You're helping push in the same direction. There's probably a terrible pitch to say like, hey, if you don't care about this program, then donate to it anyway. But really donate to it because it's helping people. And, if you're a roofing company owner, you're going to have people in your company, even if it's not you, that are dealing with this. And if you're just thinking, okay, well, I don't care, I'm not an alcoholic, just like we dealt with this deal with Mike here recently, like that, not having that resource for those people to reach out, for them to get help after the fact, I can see just, you just feel sick. Like, man, I wish we had been able to help them.
Yeah, I think a lot of people misconstrue. It's like, oh, here's Eric and Paul, Bubba and Chris asking for money again. You're not giving us money. You're not giving Roofers in Recovery money. The impact is from the nonprofit, where you can have your fingers on putting someone through rehab, keeping a family together, changing someone's life. I mean, that's a huge deal. That's something for me. I think I often make light of it because I know the value in it. But if you can't see the value in saving someone's life, don't. I'm not going to give an SPCA puppy dog eyes, but I'm like, man, if you can't see the value in changing someone's freaking life, in keeping a family together,
You're trash.
Yeah, I don't call me at 11:53. Damn it, if you're that person's all I got to say. No, but yeah, that's where I'm like, it's such a big deal to us because we get to see the impact on the other side of it. We get to see people walk out of the doors of rehab changed. We get to hear the stories of their families getting put back together. They're getting to see their kids for their first time sober. Like, man,
I would say Taylor's wife is commenting on here, so she's in support.
She is in support, absolutely.
I would say this Roofers in Recovery has probably helped her more than it's helped you.
I'm telling you, I don't think she may comment on this. I don't know. I don't think we would have never gotten married.
I wouldn't have let her if you stayed back. Yeah, I'd have kidnapped her and ran her off and put her.
For lack of me trying, but she wouldn't have married me. I know for a fact. And if she had, I would have destroyed it.
Yeah.
I would 100% would have destroyed it.
Sure, because that's what we do.
Because one of the biggest things I think that
Microphone.
And then if you want to donate to Restoration Referral System for one new microphone, I know, man. It's my as I brush my teeth. But probably one of the biggest needs that I see for some of those proceeds is just to let people know that this is out there. Because when I run into other roofing contractors, I'm embracing my sobriety now. It's something that gets brought up to my homeowners. This is what I do and this is what I stand for. Because if I don't speak my truth and own my shit, then it will eat me alive and I will drink myself to death. So just the awareness that Roofers in Recovery is even there. It's not free to advertise or boost posts to people that are in the roofing community. Bubba, what would you think 1% of roofing and construction contractors know Roofers in Recovery even exists? Is that number high? I mean, is that low? 10%? Maybe 5?
We guesstimated around 5.
So 5% of the roofing and construction industry knows that Roofers in Recovery even exists. So that right there tells you, the need that we have to get it out there. So
yeah, we were at a GAF event here in Nashville, and I'm talking to a company that's here in Nashville, and they were like, they said something about the tattoo, and I said, and he's like, is that your company logo? I said, it's Roofers in Recovery. He said, what's that? I felt like a heel. I'm like, hey, I need to get it tattooed on my forehead. I thought everybody knew about it. Right. And so we talked about it at one of our board meetings. The circle's small because a lot of people that I know, Eric also knows, Paul also knows, kind of running the same circle. So with that, what we want people, when we post stuff, if they'll share it. Because there may be a roofer in XYZ town that has never heard of it, that would be happy to be involved with it. They're just not in our circle. Out of the 4 board members, plus Kimberly, Callie, the people that share it, we have access to 30,000 people. If other people share it, it gets that algorithm going where other people will see it, and that's how we'll have impact. But we need people just to share it, just share the word.
Yeah, everybody's got kind of their sphere of influence. Some of those overlap, obviously, but That's, one reason that we wanted to do this, just to say, all right, all the people that are paying attention to Restoration Referral System, direct your attention to this Roofers in Recovery deal.
There's some in it that are struggling, I promise you, that are in your program that are struggling.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I think it's
definitely.
that prevalent. That's how problematic I think the issue is. It's in our families, it's in our homes.
Yep, it's everywhere. So I think do you guys have anything else you want to kind of bring up before we bring this whole deal to a close?
I just want to thank you for having us and bringing this out there, because it's something that, we definitely need in this industry, and we need some help. And, had I not known Bubba already, I would have never found Roofers in Recovery, and I would probably have already drank myself to death. I don't see how I wouldn't have, because I would not have had anything to show me that there was even a blip of hope out there. Something, that would just be like, hey, we've been here. We've been here. It's bad, but it's much better. And as I sit here with triple-digit sobriety, that's great and all, but I have people extremely close to me that alcohol is going to destroy their life if they don't get it together. So it's extremely important.
Cool.
Yeah, and for me, as always, you guys know I'm grateful anytime I get to hang out with y'all. It's a good time for me. From a Roofers in Recovery standpoint, thanks for the opportunity. The real big deal. I'll say to y'all that are plugging in and listening, and unless you hate money, then stay away from his system. But just get your butt to the boot camp. 72 hours to change your life. $1,500, half of that goes to a great cause. 72 hours, and it will absolutely change your life. Give you peace of mind to know that you've got business coming in on a consistent basis. Give you control of that piggy bank. It's literally you can produce money anytime you want. You want to become a master of your life in this roofing industry? Get your butt to the boot camp.
Hey, I've got my switch off right now. I need more guys.
Can I say one thing and I'm just going to say this to Taylor. Y'all can't see this online. Taylor's got a heart monitor that's on his watch. Yeah. And as I was watching you tell the story, you were running like 78 beats per minute. Okay. When you started talking about your interaction with alcohol. Mm-hmm. You got up to 94 and 95. And that's that to me was a trigger for literally how close and personal it is to us. When we tell our stories, sometimes we desensitize it because we're self-deprecating.
It's going up too.
Yeah, the realization of it. Right. But yeah, it is something that's meaningful to people. And I'm telling you, if you're living, breathing, walking around, there's 4 people out of 4 people around you, someone is having an impact, or alcohol is having an impact in their life. And it has that type of impact where it literally takes beats away from your life. Yeah. Well,
and one thing, and then I'll wrap my end up. Especially in this walk-in Roofers in Recovery, I heard something that was really impactful, and I said it during a meeting one day, was you're either an example or a warning to those around you. That's it. You're either an example or a warning. And for a long time, I was a warning of absolutely what not to do. I think we all have been, at some point in time. But thank God for Roofers in Recovery, and thank you for wanting to do this, to get it out there. And thank you for having us.
All right, guys. Well, we will wrap this up. Go to roofersinrecovery.org. Go check them out.
And go to the boot camp.
And go to the boot camp.
I think I'm going to send my business partner. He doesn't know. If he's on live right now, he's about to find out.
Come on, Jason. Let's go. Yep. So it's going to be a good time. And, we're doing just 3 days of hanging out and doing some work, unplugging from your normal day to day. I know it's June, so some people are like, this is prime time. This is when I need to be selling roofs. You take 3 days out, and even if you call it a day on either end of it to get out there, whatever, take 5 days off. Mm-hmm. You're still going to end up selling a heck of a lot more than if you'd stayed home those 5 days.
Way more.
At the National Claims Institute, do they have a retail section where Matt sells hats?
If they don't, they should.
They should. If I could get an autographed Matt Mulholland hat.
I don't know. I want the cow pie.
There's that. Yeah.
I want an autographed cow pie.
I'll take the hat. I've had plenty of shit in my life, so I'll leave that to you. I'll take the hat.
I want no bull.
All right, guys. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you later.
Thank y'all so much.